From Capitol Hill to Wall Street, this is Politics and Profits with your host, Rick Amato.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Rick Amato. It's time for Politics and Profits.
We follow the trends on Capitol Hill that lead to the profits on Wall Street. We expose the hard facts of what your elected officials are doing when you're not looking. And we show you how you can profit from their politics. The American dream is alive and well, and you can be proud to call America your home. And now, it's Rick Amato.
All right, welcome to Politics and Profits. We're going to kick the show off, ladies and gentlemen, this week's episode with a special guest. Those of you who watched my show over at One American News saw him as a frequent guest. He is the former writer for Rush Limbaugh, spent 6 years as a writer for Rush Limbaugh. He's a director at Newsmax TV, also a comedian. Let me welcome from Los Angeles, Rodney Lee Conover. Rodney, good to see you.
Hey, you too, Rick. How are you? And hi, Sutton.
Hi, Rodney.
Good to see everybody. See all my old buddies.
Rodney's referencing our producer, Sutton Porter, who produces this show and produced our show over at One America as well. Rodney, lots to go over, and you bring a unique perspective, given you not only follow the current events closely, but you have a comic background, you're a writing background. One of the things I want to cover with you is Twitter. And not Twitter specifically yet. Let's broaden it. And I'd like to get your take on Twitter, big government, and now big business, or maybe I should say elite. Those three entities merging and forming a more elite group, if you will. It sounds dangerous, doesn't it?
Well, you know, the word fascist has been thrown around a lot in the last 20 years, especially the last 4 years. And 90% of the people who use the word fascist don't know what it means. They don't know what fascism is. And fascism is essentially an unholy alliance between business and government. And they work together to keep freedom and liberty away from people like you and me and small business and, you know, people that just want to be left alone, and they want the roads to be free of junk, and they want the borders to be safe. That's most people. And fascism is about controlling people and very, very, very large businesses controlling a very high percentage of what goes on, of course, in line with government. And to call Donald Trump a fascist just exposes people to the fact that they don't know what fascism is, because Donald Trump's the opposite of a fascist. He is the exact opposite. It's just really ridiculous. And what you're seeing is real fascism now. You're seeing high tech, big business, Chinese communist influence, and a growing socialist influence in our government, all coming together to control you and me. They hate small business because small business people tend to love liberty and freedom, and, you know, take a vacation, have a barbecue, raise a couple of kids, and have a good time, party a little bit, you know, the American way. And they're very pro-constitutionalist. The entire Bill of Rights, not just cherry picking like you're in a cafeteria, but all of the Bill of Rights, including the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, the right not to be searched. But big tech doesn't believe in the First Amendment. Big tech doesn't believe in your right not to be surveilled. And government's going along with it. Big business is buying that information from big tech. And now we can see they've played their cards. They're shutting down speech, not because it's harmful, but because they don't like it. They don't agree with it. So who are the fascists? I ask you, Rick Amato.
Oh, you're right.
Fascists.
Go ahead.
They are the fascists.
Yeah.
People calling you and I a fascist, and calling Ted Cruz a fascist, and calling anyone who supports Trump a fascist, these are the fascists.
And you're right. They're shutting it down because they disagree with it, and they'll say instead it incites violence. And that's why they're shutting it down, which is ridiculous. I mean, they may be shutting some violent people down. That's great. But they're broadening that way too much. Do you think this changes? Let's say, when Obama was elected, he had the House, the Senate, and he lost that 2 years later. Do you think that happens in this case? Republicans take control, House and Senate, and goodbye this big tech alliance?
Well, I'll answer it this way. In 2018, when it became clear to me anyway that the Republicans were going to lose the majority in the House, I thought that was going to happen. I thought that was going to be very clear that that was going to happen. And I said, hey, this is a good thing in disguise, because the communists and socialists and Democrat Party, they're going to show their hand.
You were right. You were right.
Boom. They're going to show their hand. We're going to know what they're all about, and we're going to kick their asses. Well, we did kick their ass, but and Trump has some fault here. They failed to recognize that Facebook and Google and big business, and of course the Democrats and the 85% of the media, they're going to collude to either beat Trump or to cheat, and they did both. They clearly, this was not a free and fair election. Clearly, everybody knows that. I mean, all the Democrats know that, and they're smiling. And the reason they're not gloating is because you don't gloat when you cheat. You just kind of whimper away like the Houston Astros. You just kind of turn your back and you go, "Yeah, great victory, guys," and that's what they're doing. So, to make a long story tedious, the answer to your question is that we are really going to see their true colors now. And if the Supreme Court can help us out, and some of these court cases can help us out in terms of actually showing what happened in these swing states, especially Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Wisconsin, then the Republicans, and when I say Republicans, I mean conservative Republicans, guys and girls that are really Republicans, there is going to be it's going to be like Newt Gingrich in 1994 all over again. There's going to be a massive turnover in that. There's going to be so many Republicans in the House. You're not going to be able to count.
I think you're right, and that's a good analogy. Newt Gingrich, 1994. Rodney, we're down in less than a minute. I need you to keep your answer brief.
Sorry.
Is it like being a writer for Rush Limbaugh?
Well, I tell you, I could do a whole hour.
I bet you could.
Really funny Rush stories. But my best story is I lived in Hermosa Beach at the time, and I got up at 3 a.m. and grabbed the papers. This is back during the times of newspapers, manual typewriters. In fact,
and we got 30 seconds, so go ahead.
I'd go down to eat breakfast with a little Walkman. Remember that? I'd listen to the show, and I would giggle, and people would stare, not knowing that he was announcing to 6 million people the words that I just faxed, and that was what it was like for me.
And we're out of time. We'll bring you back, Rodney. You're director for Newsmax TV. We'll talk about that next time. You did a John Wayne documentary recently. A couple of others, very cool. I also want to mention, back in the day in West Los Angeles, you, Rodney, lived in the same apartment building as Matt Drudge, Andrew Breitbart, and Greg Gutfeld. What a story that is right there.
And Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman. All right.
True story.
Rodney Lee Conover, we're out of time. We got to go. Stay safe up there in L.A. We'll have you back soon.
Okay, I'll call you from Florida.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye-bye, Sutton.
Bye.
Broadcasting from Liberatory CPA Studios, back after this.
Politics and Profits with Rick Amato is brought to you by Liberatory Accounting, the IRS problem solvers. To find out how Liberatory Accounting can help you, call 877-6-SOLVER. That's 877-6-SOLVER.